Hello and welcome to my very first podcast. I have been filming lots of dressmaking makes and reveals and day out trips and various other things, and lots of people seem to be enjoying them, so I thought I should probably start doing a few podcasts. Now I know lots of people do these either just verbally, so you can just download the voice part, and some people like to do them to camera like I am. It's one of those things, it's preference, I suppose, what you decide that you want to view. But the way that I'm going to do my podcast is that you should be able to just listen to me and not really worry about having to look at the screen all the time. So if you do just want to put this on while you're driving in the car, you can do. But I will give you a holler if I want you to look at something, because I have got a few bits and pieces I do want to show you. So this is a bit of a tester. I would love to know your thoughts, what you've enjoyed, what you haven't enjoyed, what you want to see more of. Do please comment below for me, and it will help me make a decision whether I'm going to make a podcast a regular feature on my vlog or not. So firstly, I've got to apologise for the camera video quality. I've scheduled to do this today because it's my day off, and I wanted to sit down and film it. However, I've actually lent my camera to a friend of mine for the day who's doing a photography class at my studio today. So I sat down, thought, right, I'm going to film my podcast, and I haven't got anything to film it on. So I'm just filming this from my phone. Again, I'm down in the man shed today. It's a nice place to be quiet. It's polling day today, so my children's school is shut. And they are at home, so they are watching a film at the moment and eating some lunch, so I've told them not to disturb mummy. So what I want to talk to you today about is crochet and knitting. So I am a dressmaker. That's the thing I love doing. I love sewing, all sorts, but I also do all sorts of other crafts. We teach all sorts of other crafts from our studio in Brentwood, and one of the things that I'm really passionate about is crochet. And I wanted to talk to you about how I've got where I have with my crochet and my crochet journey, and then go into a little bit about knitting and how I'm slowly but surely also getting there with my knitting. And I'm also going to show you a product that we offer that may well be of interest to those of you who are perhaps knitters and interested to learn to crochet, or those of you who can't already crochet. So I learned to crochet, it must have been about 6 years ago. I was in the early stages of pregnancy with my daughter, and she's about to turn 5. So I remember really wanting to learn to crochet, and I asked my mum to buy me a course for my birthday. We went to see a lovely lady called Rihanna. She lives in Leigh-on-Sea near us, and she still teaches crochet. She is very, very good in the fact that she's ambidextrous, so she can actually teach lefties to crochet left-handed, and how to read patterns left-handed as well. So I'll put her details down in the comments later for anyone who's left-handed who might like to learn. But I went to see Rihanna, and I was full of grand plans. I was going to leave her studio being able to make a granny square and make a flower, and they were the two things I wanted to do. And bless her, she really, really did persevere with me, and she tried to get me making a flower. But in the short amount of time that we had, I just simply couldn't get my hands to do what my head was telling them to do. I found it really, really frustrating, mainly because being quite crafty and quite creative, I understood what I was supposed to be doing. It made perfect sense to me. The pattern was there in my head, but it just wasn't happening. I suppose it's a bit like someone who really struggles with their handwriting, and I know my son's the same. He's got a fantastic imagination, he can come up with great stories, but actually getting that from his head to the page he really struggles with, and I was a bit like that with crochet. So I came home and I just ended up getting angry with myself for a good, probably nearly a year. Trying various things, understanding the pattern, giving the crochet a go, but it just not working for me. So in the end, I think I must have gone onto a Crochet Forum of some sort, and somebody said to me, why don't you try using a chunky yarn and a 6mm hook, and you'll find that much easier, because you'll be able to see where the stitches are, and you'll be able to see the fabric that you're forming. So that's exactly what I did, and it really, really does work. So much so that obviously I went on to progress my crochet, and I learned lots and lots and lots, and got quite good at it, even if I did say so myself. And about 3 years ago, when I launched my classes, I was asked to teach crochet. So I'd got quite advanced by then, so I developed a beginner's course. And my beginner's course, I don't think anybody else teaches beginner's crochet in the way that I do. For a start, we always learn with a 6mm hook and chunky yarn. And I really do teach the basics first. I don't believe that a granny square is a beginner's crochet class. So many places put on beginner's crochet, come and learn to make a granny square. You're not learning how to crochet when you learn to make a granny square. All you're learning is how to make a granny square, and you're learning 1 stitch, or maybe 2 if you count the slip stitch. But I believe that you should learn the basics first, the bare basics. The 3 main stitches, the double crochet, the half treble and the treble, and then how to follow a simple pattern. Once you can do that, the world is your oyster with crochet, and you will fly. You'll be able to make almost anything really, really quickly. But you really do need to learn the basics first, which is why we produced our beginners class. And so far, I think on average, I teach 3 beginners classes a month. Been doing it for about 3 years. I have about 4 people on each class. I keep the class sizes really small so that everybody gets a good level of attention, and they're 2 weeks, so they do 1 class 1 week, do some homework in the middle, and then do the second class in the second week. And I would hand on heart say that I haven't had anybody finish my beginners crochet classes who hasn't gone on to be able to crochet. There's been a couple who've decided, you know what, this isn't for me, I don't enjoy it. And they haven't taken it any further, and that's okay. But I haven't had anybody that simply hasn't been able to do it. And the majority of my pupils go on to our intermediate course and then our advanced courses, and then come on to learn amigurumi, Bavarian crochet, all sorts of other things. So I think we've got it just right. So much so that in the last couple of months we have launched our semi-virtual crochet courses. And this is where I'm going to start showing you stuff. So if you are able to pause and have a little look at the screen, I would love you to do so. So our semi-virtual crochet course, the idea is that it's for people who can't come to me and learn, so they don't live nearby, or they can't come because they work nights, or they're perhaps housebound, any particular reason. And they can learn to crochet in the same way that my students would do if they were with me. So I know there's lots and lots and lots of YouTube tutorials out there, and I know a lot of people do learn to crochet with YouTube tutorials, but the quality differs from really bad to really good. You've got things such as UK and US terminology, which becomes a bit of an issue. You've got people who don't like to learn with video, they prefer to have a book. You've got others who like someone to show them. So what I've done is I've taken all those different learning styles and I've put them together into one course. So when you buy our semi-virtual crochet kit, you will receive in the post a jute bag. So it will look something like this. So it will either be a nice bright pink one, or you'll get a limey green one. And inside that is a fully produced book. So you've got all your just general starting instructions inside. And then each stitch, we talk you through how to do each stitch with pictures every step of the way. So that goes all the way through the 3 basic stitches. It gets you doing your homework. We make you stop and do your homework, and then it goes on to learning this lovely rose pattern here. Now this rose is by Lucy from Attic 24. Anybody who knows anything about crochet will follow Attic 24's blog. Lucy is a fantastic crocheter. She makes it really easy, and Lucy gave us permission to use this pattern in our course, so we're very thankful for that. So you've got your books, it's got all your instructions in it. You've also got online a help and support forum, and we've got a private Facebook group that you can join, so there's information in the book as to how you can join that. And there's a whole team of volunteers on there who've all been taught by me at some point or another, who are there to offer you help, support and advice if you need it. And then you are given full access to our online tutorials. These were all professionally filmed in my studio, and we had a camera above me and a camera at me. So obviously I talk to camera quite a bit, but when I want to show you something particular, then the camera films me from above, and you get perfect close-up shots of how all the stitches are formed. And it's really, really clear, if I do say so myself. We've had numerous people product test it for us, and they've all come back and said how good it was. They're all crocheting brilliantly. They found it really easy to follow. We haven't had a single bit of negative feedback, so that's great. But what really makes it is what else is in your kit. So as well as your book, you'll receive a little bundle here, and in that bundle you will find one of our super duper hooky postcards, and we have written all of the terminology for all the stitches in what I like to call Claire speak. So rather than being too detailed, we put things like wrap your yarn around your hook, poke your hook in the stitch, catch your yarn to the front, you'll have 3 loops on your hook, pull your yarn through 3 loops. So we don't use too much terminology, it's more, you know, poking, catching, looping. It makes a lot more sense. So you've got one of those, and then you can refer to that when you want to do your stitches. You've got a Clover 6mm crochet hook. Now I love these hooks. I've never ever gone back to a regular crochet hook after using these. They've got a lovely ergonomic rubber handle, so you can hang on to it, and it's really lightweight and easy to use, and I just find I can crochet really quite quickly with those. You've also got in your bag a darning needle. So these are just plastic. Obviously we'd encourage you to get a nice metal one if you're going to go into your crochet, but this just will enable you to sew up your rows at the end of your course. And then one of the things that I'm quite proud of is you also get 2 balls of chunky yarn. So this is Stylecraft yarn. I recommend Stylecraft as it doesn't split, it's really nice and soft, it's nice and easy to work with. But one of the things that I found really hard when I learnt to crochet was learning to do my foundation chain and then put my stitches into my foundation chain. That was so fiddly and so cumbersome that actually if it was the first thing that I had to learn, I'd probably just go throw it out the window. So when we teach our courses, we make sure that we've done a little bit of crochet for you so that you can learn the stitch first of all. So you start with a double crochet stitch. You can learn the double crochet stitch into a little piece of fabric, get to grips with the stitch, and then go back and learn how to make the foundation chain. And I find that really works for my pupils. So we've done that for this course as well. So inside your ball of yarn, if I open that carefully, you will find, come here, you will find what I like to call my wall. It looks just like a little wall and built with bricks. So we've done a few little rows of crochet for you. We've attached a lovely little stitch marker. I don't know if you can see those, that little heart stitch marker. And they are made for us by one of our pupils, Wendy. She's made thousands of them for me, literally. You get a little pink one on your pink ball and you get a little green one on your green ball. But that's going to mean that you can literally, as soon as your kit arrives in the post, you can start crocheting. And literally within the first half an hour you'll be making the double crochet stitch, and you'll start to feel really rewarded and that you're actually achieving something, which is fantastic when you get that feeling. You're not feeling frustrated or angry, and we're taking all that frustration away from you that I know people experience when they're trying to teach themselves or they're trying to just learn from a book or from a YouTube tutorial. So just those little added extra touches are the things that we've put into the course to make it better for you. So hopefully what I've shown you will encourage some of you to jump online. I'll put the link below and purchase the course. You do get instant access to the online tutorials as soon as you've bought and paid, and we post your kit out to you within 48 hours of you registering, so it should arrive so that you can get started. I've got quite a few people at the moment who are trialling the kit, and obviously our first few pupils that have bought it are currently halfway through their course. So if you want to find out how they're getting on, if you want to look on Twitter or Facebook, we have provided a hashtag which is BTHQ SV, which stands for Beautiful Things Headquarters Semi-Virtual. So you can go and have a look at that, and you'll be able to find all of our bloggers who've done blogs. You'll be able to find there's some YouTube unboxing videos and all sorts of things that you can go and have a look at. But we really would love you to try the course, and let us know how you get on. We'll be launching our intermediate crochet course in the next month or so, and that's so anyone who already knows the basics but wants to progress and take it further, that will be there for you. And if you're coming to Yarndale this year, which is a fantastic wool show in Skipton in September, the end of September, it's organised by Lucy from Attic24 and her team of helpers, and we will be exhibiting this year at Yarndale for the first time. We've been the last 2 years as visitors, but this year we're going to be exhibiting, which we're very excited about. So we'll be selling our courses there, but we will be having an exclusive Yarndale only kit for an amigurumi cactus garden, which is very exciting. And so that will be the first place you'll be able to buy that. If we've got any left when we've done Yarndale, then we will put them on general sale, but the idea is that they're an exclusive kit for Yarndale visitors, so hopefully we'll see some of you there. So that's crochet. Obviously there are lots and lots of things that you can make with crochet, but for a long while I've had people say to me, do you knit, Claire? Can you offer knitting classes? And I don't knit. My grandmother taught me to knit when I was very small. She used to make a lot of the Jean Greenhouse scarecrows and various creatures and animals and people. And I've made a little witch, and I made a little chick and various little things with her. And it was fine when I was sitting next to her on the sofa, because as soon as I went wrong or I dropped a stitch, she'd take it away from me, she'd fix it, she'd give it back to me, and I was off. And I'd spend the weekends up in Norfolk at her house knitting away, making these creatures, and then I'd come home, sit on the sofa, and within 5 minutes I'd be in a huff because I'd dropped a stitch and my mum couldn't help me and I was angry and cross and I didn't do it. So I never really got into knitting. I think what I love about crochet is that you can't really drop a stitch as such. You can make a mistake, but you can pull it back one stitch at a time, and it's not all just going to fall off your needle. And with knitting, I can do it. That's another thing. I can do it. It's almost the opposite of crochet. I can do it and I can get what's in my head onto my needles. But if I make a mistake or if I drop a stitch, I am totally screwed. And it really, really makes me cross, because I just want to go, right, fix the mistake and get on with it. And I just get so frustrated and so angry with it. But I'm persevering. So we have been asked if we do knitting teaching. We didn't, because obviously I could only do a knit purl and a cast on. That was about all I could teach, and if anybody mucked that up then I couldn't have helped them, so that wasn't really very professional. So we hired a knitting teacher called Carol, and she's fantastic. She can knit anything. She crochets and knits as well, but she knits so fast she never ever even looks at what she's knitting. When she's standing chatting to you, she's chatting away and she's whizzing whatever she's knitting off on her knitting needles, and it's fascinating to watch her. But she's a very patient teacher. She's worked in education for a long while. She's worked with a lot of children with special needs in schools, and so she has got an incredible amount of patience, which she needs. That's what she's teaching me. So she started with a beginners and an intermediate knitting class. I didn't bother with the beginners class because all that was knit, purl and cast on and cast off, and I do know how to do that, so I bypassed that one. And I went on to our intermediate course where we made bunting pennants. And they were obviously learning about decreasing and increasing, and we did some stripy ones. So we learned about changing colours and carrying your wool up the side of your work. And I was quite pleased with that. I created 2 little bunting pennants I was very happy with. I had no intention of making any more of them. It didn't really float my boat, so I gave them to the other lady who was on the course with me, and she's let them join her crochet bunting pennants, knitted bunting pennants, so they'll be up in her garden apparently. But the next thing we went on to do, is a bit of a jump really, but she assured me I would be able to do it, was sock knitting. Now I've crocheted socks. I love crocheting socks, it's really good, and now that I'm part way through my sock knitting course, then I've realised that the principles of it are pretty much identical, putting it all together. So we started from the cuff, went down to the heel, made the heel flap, and shaped it, and we're going up to the toe at the moment, and we've got a class tomorrow to finish off our toes. It's actually opposite to the way that I do crochet ones. The crochet ones start from the toe and I work my way up, but the principle of picking up the heel and turning the heel is exactly the same. So I'm going to show you my sock. I'm very pleased with it. I did have a disaster at the end of our last class though. All my knitting stitches fell off my needles. I could have cried because I actually had really done well, if I do say so myself, in class, and I turned my heel flap. So that's lovely and stripy yarn. I'd turned my heel and I'd picked up all my stitches and I'd really understood what I was doing, and I'd started on my decreases up the ankle. And then I suddenly dropped. I went to slip, knit two together, and I suddenly dropped a whole heap of stitches, and I really could have cried. So I put a post out there on our chat forum, BTHQ Crafty Corner on Facebook, and said, can anybody help me? And thankfully one of the ladies who's on the course with me, Leslie, she saved me, and I went round to her house and she picked up all my stitches for me, put them all back on the needles, and touch wood, I'm okay. So I've now gone all the way up my leg, and I've gone, no, that's not my leg, that's my foot, all the way up my foot, and I'm now ready tomorrow in class to knit my toe. So I'm working on these really tiny little double pointed needles. They're quite scary. They do remind me of cocktail sticks, so they're really small. I have got some longer ones, but I did find actually they just became a little bit cumbersome. But my good friend and pupil Viv told me about DPN holders the other day, and I'd never discovered those before until now. And they're basically little fabric pouches with poppers on either end that you can pop your DPNs into. And when you've done the poppers up around the DPNs, it stops them falling out, so they all stay. I can't do it up now while talking to you at the same time. They all stay together in one place, and it means you don't drop your work. So I made this little one, and I've subsequently made quite a few more, and I think we're going to put them on our stall at Yarndale, so we're going to have some DPN holders for you. But we've also got these lovely little project bags that we make, and they're perfect just for popping a little project in. So that's my sock. So I'll let you know if I do another podcast how I got on with that. And then I'll show you one last thing. So this is another thing I'm working on. Again, Viv told me about this one. I decided I wanted a nice, fairly simple pick up and put down knitting project. So she suggested that I tried the Hitchhiker shawl, or by a lady called Martina Bairn. And this, you can buy this from Ravelry. It's a Ravelry download. It's €3.40, so it's not particularly expensive. And it's a lovely, I don't know if you can see this, it's kind of a scallopy shawl. It has a scalloped edge on one edge, and it's apparently really super simple. And it's just a simple 8-row pattern repeat. So I've actually written myself a little note of the pattern in a card so that I've got that to hand. And then lots of numbers 1 to 8. Because I did find when I first started, if you don't cross your row off as you go, you do get in a terrible pickle and you don't know where you are. And I ended up with my pointy bit on the wrong side. So I'll show you. But I've had a hole on this one as well, unfortunately, because I was doing really well. Knitted on circular needles. I was doing really well, so my points were forming really nicely, and I was really pleased with it. And then I was knitting along and I realised I've obviously dropped a stitch somewhere. Can you see in the middle there by my chin? There's a big hole. So I've obviously dropped a stitch, but frustratingly, I don't know how I've done it, but I've managed to pick it back up again here. So I've got a big hole where the stitch should be. I've picked it up here, but I've absolutely no idea how to get rid of that hole. I'm suspecting I'm going to need to pull it back. But I do know there's a little crochet hook technique that you can do to hook your stitches up. So bearing in mind we've got knitting class tomorrow, I'm going to be patient. I'm going to take that in and I'm going to show Carol and see if she wouldn't mind showing me what I've done and how to fix it, so if I do it again. So again, I'll keep you posted on how I go with that. That's my knitting journey. The yarns that I've used are Little Boo sock weight yarns. They're both Little Boo, actually, for my sock and also for my hitchhiker. I love her yarns. They're a sock, obviously designed as sock weight. They're hand dyed, but they've got a sparkle in them. In fact, I'm actually wearing this is Little Boo as well. Can you see it's got a bit of sparkle to it? This is one that I had custom dyed for me in my company colours, and this is crocheted a corner to corner cow, so it's one big tube. And this is a pattern by Zooty Owl, so I'll put all the patterns and the yarns and things down in the comments. This is a really, really easy crochet pattern, and it's nice done in the sock weight. It's ever so light. I've got quite a loose tension, so this was one skein. Made this. If you wanted it a bit longer or a bit wider, obviously you probably need more, but it's meant that I've got a skein of this left over because I had 2 skeins, so I will, if all goes to plan, make another pair of socks. So again, we'll see what happens there. So I haven't really got much more to talk about. I know some people do their podcasts and they go on for almost an hour. In my opinion, that's a little bit too long, really. And they often have what they call waffle segments at the end. They just waffle on. But I'm not going to have a waffle segment. I really just, is a bit of an experiment, putting it out there. If you're enjoying listening to me ramble about crochet and knitting and crafts in general, just to let me know, and let me know what you want me to do more of. I've got some fab videos coming up. I've got a week in the life of the Beautiful Things Studio video coming out in the next couple of days, and that will give you a really good insight into what we do in our studio and what we get up to. I've got some more make videos coming up. Obviously I've been busy making the garments that I said I would do in my fabric haul videos. So there's lots of things coming up, but the podcast wise, I'd love to know if it's something that you would want me to do more of, and what things you'd like me to talk about. I'm quite happy to talk about any craft really, and if you want to ask me questions how I've got where I am, and you know, all sorts of things, then I'll be happy to answer those for you. So I'm going to go and make sure that my children haven't killed each other in the house, and hopefully sit back and read some of your comments and feedback and see where we go from here. So I'll see you later. Bye bye.